we're getting ready for another year.
We're here,
of Contend.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Look at the colors back here. I'm picturing everything being very full.
I know. I was actually talking to my friend who I'm looking to invite this year, and it just feels like it's just around the corner. It's fall.
It is just around the corner. We're like 4 months away.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We have to hurry up.
Sign up right now.
What else do we have to do to get ready for
sign
this?
Up, register.
Well, one of the questions that came up was, how did this even start at NBC? I know last year was our first year. Take me back to that time. Like, what were some of the thoughts as you started to think about?
Take me back, yes.
2 years ago, I guess now.
Yeah. Well, we had to go back before 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, we actually did it, put it on. But so this grew out of the Underground Session Ministry, which we began back in 2014. I think was the first one we had.
Yep.
And the idea behind that was, is there a space? Is there a part of the ministry that could really engage with challenging cultural topics that people are wrestling with?
Right.
And it was really nowhere near where it is now. It was kind of the beginnings of the birth pangs, if I can say that, of what we've experienced over the last 10 years. So the Underground Sessions was founded really as this kind of cultural engagement wing. And I would say, maybe 3-4 years ago, I started to have this desire to take what we've done here, because people would come to me and say, well, the Underground is so unique, and we've learned a lot of things from that. My thought was, what if we created kind of this regional gathering, and I've been to a lot of conferences, and I thought maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah.
A regional gathering where we could actually equip people to engage on these challenging topics.
Yeah.
And I was getting more into apologetics. I had just done the Colson Fellows program. They focus on worldview, and I really felt the need and the passion to equip folks to engage in this really complex world that we're living in. And as a result, we came up with the Contend Conference.
I love it. Yeah. And I love that at the same time, a lot of the people from our church were also stirring and getting excited about the topic, and, seeing everybody and all the volunteers come together a couple of years ago to put the first one on is really great. So
and I think that the tagline that I was workshopping a couple of years ago that we started to say is we want this to be about equipping the saints to engage the skeptics.
Yeah.
Because everybody has skeptical people in their life, and they're afraid to talk with them, or they don't know how to talk with them, and that's part of what we're trying to do here. Yeah.
And I love that it's a whole weekend, because it really helps us just devote this one weekend of the year. It's at the beginning of the year, for us to really reflect and focus what our year could be about. And I love that it's not gonna, I like the Underground Sessions, but it's such a quick thing. This is gonna be a whole weekend that we could really.
Well, that was a question. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really had the question in my mind: will people come for the whole weekend? And I was really pleasantly surprised the last time, and I hope that it just continues to grow.
Sometimes people ask, do I need to know a lot about apologetics to come to a conference like this? I mean, can it be somebody who is a new Christian, or is this something that, only if you know all of these big words that apologetics seems to have? Is there going to be something for everybody?
I mean, I think so. So if you're somebody that knows a lot about apologetics, you might be coming to this, but with different motivations. Right. You're looking to gather tidbits. You're looking to network. If you're somebody that doesn't know a lot about apologetics, I think this is going to be of great benefit to you. Because the people we're bringing in, I think, have a ability to talk at a good level for people that are at multiple points on their preparation. I mean, think about Elisa Childers. Elisa Childers has gone through her own journey, and she's now kind of taken on this cultural apologist mantle. Right. That's not where she was 20 years ago. Right. So God had to take her through a journey to get there.
And I love watching her podcast, because she does ask some questions that I think some of us have asked ourselves, and maybe either haven't had the time.
The quiet part out loud.
The quiet part out loud, exactly. I think, to your point, what I loved about the conference 2 years ago is that the big group times is something that I think everybody can get something from. And then you have these workshops where it's really catered to where are you at, what are the questions you're specifically wrestling through, and I like that we could see them, pick which class we were most interested in. So tell me a little bit about how you came to find these speakers themselves. Is it something that, are these people you followed for a while, whether it's reading their books, or how do you really kind of go through that process?
Elisa, Yes, I've followed her for a few years, and we actually have tried to get her. We actually tried to get her for the last one, but she was pretty booked up and popular, so we weren't able to get. And I was pleasantly surprised we got her this time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Usually, I'm having to book people 18 months, even 2 years out. But yeah, so we're really excited to have her. So she's probably the most well-known one. Neil Shenvi. I have followed him, and I started to follow him around when all the racial stuff was becoming a big deal around 2020, 2021. He was kind of doing a deep dive into this whole critical race theory thing. So he's sort of become like an expert on that. He's written a pretty thick book about that and how do we think about that from a Christian worldview. But he's also done a lot of work on apologetics. So he's got a book called Why Believe, and that's one of his talks. So he's going to talk about the critical race theory, social justice stuff at one talk, and then also do apologetics. And actually I will say that book is pretty refreshingly different than other stuff I've written. So I think people will be pretty pleased with him. And then Jason Thacker, I came across him because he was writing books on AI before it was a thing. He wrote this book called The Age of AI. So that was how I first came across him. He worked for the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, and he's done a lot of other work about the digital public square, and that's been of interest to me over the years. So I think he's going to offer something. He's particularly doing a talk on parenting and social media, so I think that'll be of interest to parents.
So I probably should have asked this at the beginning, but like, how would you define apologetics to begin with? Like, how could what are some of the takeaways that people can expect from a conference like this?
So I actually heard a really good definition in a systematic theology class. So systematic theology or biblical theology is understanding what we believe, why we believe it, and then apologetics is taking those things and applying it to the wider culture. And we're making an argument in a compelling way for why that is true.
Right. So it's like the practical application of the truths that we know.
Yeah, the apologetics is going out to the skeptics in a lot of ways. But also there's this piece of cultural engagement and understanding, is my mind really being shaped by Scripture and the gospel, and am I seeing all of life from a Christian perspective?
Okay.
So I think that's a piece of apologetics. It's in recent years people have been talking about it being cultural apologetics, but there's just kind of this cultural engagement lens to it.
I do feel like, as we've been talking through some of the stuff we're doing this year as opposed to 2 years, there is a difference in, I don't know if tone is the right way to explain it. The first Contend Conference was this, like, I could hear the eye on the tiger kind of playing in my head. We're boxing, we're contending. Felt, I don't know if aggressive is the right word I'm looking for, but this one seems to be more different. It almost, it was convicting because I feel like when we drift, this year being drift, resisting the drift, thank you. It almost feels like I need to actually get more energy or do more work in what I'm doing. So do you have any thoughts on, how did that come to be?
I mean, I would say this. I forget where, just one day it kind of clicked, and I forget who I was listening to or whatnot, but this idea of this resisting the drift, this drift is going on. And maybe I'll frame it this way. So back in the early 20th century, J. Gresham Machen, who founded Westminster Seminary, wrote a book called Christianity and Liberalism. And he wasn't the only one that was talking about these issues, but he was very concerned about the seminary he was working at, and there was a wider discussion going on, even in the historic denomination that our church is a part of, about the nature of the gospel, the authority of the Bible, what was required to even send missionaries out, what did you have to believe to be a Christian. And Machen's argument in the book was basically to say that liberalism was a drift away from what Orthodox Christianity was. So when I say resisting the drift, I think there is cultural ideologies that are out there that have started to make their way into the church. So there's an aspect of we're doing apologetics for people that are skeptics, but we also have to be careful that some of those ideas that come in that seem good, that feel good, we have to be able to evaluate the ones that actually line up with Scripture and the ones that don't, because it's so easy to innocuously just take in messages and not critically evaluate them. So part of what we're doing is, I think we've structured it where there's messages that are for people that are in the church to be aware of wrong messages that are coming in, and also how do I take messages out to people that have no concept of the Christian faith at all.
Right. And I think that's why a conference like this, going back to it, is really essential for everyone, because even Christians who have known God for their whole lives are hearing those messages, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and I think it affects our lives in some way. Now, would you say that's progressive Christianity and the ideas that are coming out of
progressive Christianity is probably the term that's being used now, but that's the same thing that Machen was arguing about 100 years ago. He just called it liberalism.
Okay.
So you have to evaluate, and I think in my mind it really revolves around what do you think about the authority of the Bible and all the adjacent issues that are related to that.
Right, right.
So that's at least part of what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Well, I want to hear about the breakout sessions. Are there some really great topics that you have?
Yeah, well, you were excited before, so we did, and I think this might have been your suggestion from the last conference, was to add in a teen track and to add in a kids track.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that at least Saturday morning, if you're a parent with kids, that you can come. So Jason Thacker is going to talk about parenting and social media. Elisa Childers is going to talk about the Live Your Truth talk Saturday morning. And we're going to run kids programming underneath that. So we're bringing in a couple speakers and some people to run the program so that parents can have their kids taken care of.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, we're going to have 3 breakout sessions. One is going to focus on teens. So we're bringing in a speaker to talk about how do teens resist the drift.
Yeah.
And we talked the other day with this speaker about all the different kind of adjacent topics related to this.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 2 other breakout sessions. I had to limit it from last time because we had some conversations about the schedule.
Yeah.
So one is going to be my friend Alphonse Javed, who's actually going to be here for our underground sessions this Sunday. He pastors a church here in New Jersey, and he has a specialty in evangelism to Muslims.
Okay.
And that's a large growing population in our area. I think people really need to understand how do we engage with people of the Muslim faith.
Yeah.
And then secondly, one of our missionaries, our world partners, Adrienne Livingston, is going to talk about sex trafficking, which you don't think that's an issue, but it really is a big issue that's going on. So she's going to do a special track about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's going to be great. So how are people going to sign up?
Well, they should sign up right now.
Sign up right now.
Sign up on the website. Let us know that you're coming. All the details, I think, are pretty clearly laid out. One thing I will say is if you sign up before December 31st, there's a discounted rate. So right now it's $50. After December 31st, it's going to go up to $75.
Okay.
And that includes basically all your stuff for the weekend. The schedule's listed. And if you're volunteering, so if you're volunteering, you get an even lower rate. But you have to sign up to volunteer. Let us know where you want to volunteer, what days you want to volunteer, and secondly, also register to attend. You need to sign up on both links. So you get a discount. There's somewhere
and you get a t-shirt.
And you get a t-shirt.
Lots of t-shirts.
You have somewhere for your kids to be.
Yep.
You know the date way ahead of time, so you put it on your calendar. So really, there's not many reasons to not sign up. Well, there you go. You heard it here first, folks.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be an amazing event, and I'm really excited about it.
And Delia's going to be hosting, so you get to see her face the whole weekend.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I'm just really excited to be with everyone here. Remember, this whole room will be filled of people worshiping, loving the Lord, learning.
Yeah, in a few short months, it's going to be wonderful. We hope to see you there.